Today's sermon is about being the way you want to be. As we go on our spiritual path, we have a vision of the type of person that we want to become. We have a vision of the ideal of ourselves in the highest way. We're just these perfect angels walking around, being nice to everybody, having the most amount of patience. We are just pure angelic entities. And this is completely real and possible, but not right now. And I think for us to have this goal of this divine spiritual energy flowing through us at all times is a great goal. This is why we call it near constant joy. And I had a beautiful magic dream last night. I didn't feel worried about this sermon. Sometimes I go to sleep on Saturday night like freaking out. Like, what am I going to say on Camp Church? I don't even know. And then I get all these downloads. This sermon, I feel like, is a important topic, but I feel like I'm prepared to address it. But one thing that I did get shown in my dreams last night was really cool. Is my dream was this. I'll tell you all the details because it's very funny. Overall, like the metaphor part of it was that I went back in time to when I was 14. And I brought my full cognizance into the time when I was 14. And I basically was myself, all of the spiritual growth that I've done since I was 14. And I brought that energy back. And I was like fully aware. I mean, we've all had this fantasy, right? Like, oh, if I could just do high school over again with like who I am today, like I would kick so much ass. Like I would be a millionaire by the time I was like 19, whatever. So it was a really interesting dream. In my dream, I moved to San Francisco, and when I was 14, I was like, see you parents, I'm good. I'm fully cognizant. I don't need to worry about this anymore. I moved to San Francisco when I was 14. I went to the college, the Berklee College of Music, and I studied with like Sophie, who was apparently there. And she had like the most beautiful voice. And then I like seduced Mark Zuckerberg like on purpose. It was such a funny dream. Like I hate Mark Zuckerberg for real, but I was like, okay, if I'm going back in time to the time when I'm 14, like this is pre-Facebook, like I'm gonna have to find Mark Zuckerberg and like change the course of like surveillance capitalism. And anyway, well, the point of the dream was that guess what happened when I went back in time fully cognizant? I still got wrapped up in so much bullshit. I was still gossiping. I was still participating in these lower vibrational realities, which I wouldn't participate in now. And the point of the dream was that Earth is actually becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. So it takes less and less work now to be aligned and to enjoy the things which you enjoy. The thing is, when I was 14, I was playing Grand Theft Auto. And I think that if I took my consciousness and all the spiritual work I've done now and I brought it back in time to that denser earth reality, it would be helpful, sure, but it wouldn't be as helpful as you might imagine. Because what's happening right now is that the earth itself is raising in vibrational reality. And all we have to do really is raise ourselves with it. It doesn't have, unless you have like severe depression, which severe depression is like you took earth energy and then you tried to take it even lower. If you can claw your way back up to the standard place where earth is, we're on a really quick roller coaster right now of going up into a higher dimensional reality. And if you can simply, and this is like, I wouldn't have said this in the sermon if I hadn't had this dream. That's why it was an important dream, because I would have said, well, you can do this and you can do this. But I think we're forgetting how much circumstantial proof there is, how much circumstantial support there is for us to be in this place right now. And we're nowhere near where we're going to be. We are literally increasing exponentially. So the point of this whole dream aspect is to tell you that do your best and let the energy of earth and your life carry you into a higher way of being. If you're just simply focused on being in a higher vibrational state, you really don't have to worry about anything, and you will just simply rise up, and all these things which you used to do, which you used to enjoy, will just fade away. And that's a really hard thing, because I want to address that too. So if there's aspects of your personality which you like, this could be gossiping, judgment, violence, hardcore sex, pornography, consuming gore or violence, taboo fantasies, starting shit with people, getting into arguments with people, holding grudges, not forgiving people, being lazy, like not taking care of yourself or your surroundings. These are all examples of lower vibrational activities that we do that can sometimes define us. We can use them to define us. And for me, like, there are certain things on that list which I resonate with very strongly, where it's really hard for me to let go of those aspects of my personality. When I participate in something like that, I feel both comfortable and nourished on some level, but I also feel guilty, because I'm like, I know this isn't necessarily the highest vibrational thing. So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with the fact that these aspects of our personality, which we have been raised by, we've been raised into, how do we deal with the fact that that's not necessarily the highest vibrational reality? This is kind of maybe not the best example, but for me, it's the most close to home, which is, I feel like I shouldn't use this example on Cam Church. This is Cam Church. I don't want to be putting ideas in your head. But the idea of a certain type of sex, right? There's a certain type of sex which is common and popular and presented in pornography. I consider it to be hardcore. Most people probably just think of it as sex, but it's not spiritual, right? It's very physical, and you don't have to be connected to somebody else to do it. And it's a wonderful release of energy. It's a wonderful way to get energy out of your body, and to transmute things, and to get exercise, and all of these things. But it's not interdimensional, and it's not heart to heart, and it's not what I know sex is supposed to be. So my guides have been working with me about my sexual behaviors for a long time. And they've just told me, like, we don't understand. And I said to them, you don't get it. Like, you can't lecture me from your cloudy, like, reality. You don't understand what it's like to be embodied. Like, when you're embodied, like, sometimes you just have to judge people, and you just have to gossip, and you just have to have bad sex, and you just, like, have to eat junk food. Like, there's a part of our reality that's just, like, so infused with this lower energy that it's like, to not participate in it is almost to be crazy, right? Because you're just, you have, if you literally were able to completely harmonize your internal state and live in a way that is completely disconnected from judgment or junk food or bad sex or negative media, you would literally not exist in society. Like, you can't. Because we live in a reality, we live in a society that's full of dense energy, that is predicated on dense energy, and we've been raised in a way for us to associate aspects of our personality to these lower vibrational ways. For me to think, oh, it's a treat to eat a piece of candy, I had to break out of that. It took me years before I stopped thinking of candy as a treat, and I had to just program it again in my brain and say, this is poison. Sugar is poison. This makes me feel bad. Okay, I'm going to eat it. Okay, I eat it. I feel bad. And it's like, no, but I like it. And I eat the candy, and I feel bad. And I just spent time focusing on the energy of it. So that's the advice I have. If you're participating in these negative activities, which you know are lower vibrational, which you feel drawn to doing still, but you kind of don't want to, then every time you do it, just analyze yourself. Try to take your consciousness outside of your body and watch yourself. Is this where you want to be? Is this what you want to feel? Is this the way that you're practicing love to yourself? The other side of it is believing in a hopeful future. If I am having a certain type of sex that is unconnected, and I know that maybe I would prefer, to have chakra expanding, telepathic, mind exploding, mutual orgasm sex rather than just like, whatever the kids are doing these days. But I don't have any place to find that, like that. If I'm not in a relationship with someone who can provide me with that, then what can I do? If it's not in my reality to find the healthy version, if I'm eating unhealthy food every day and the only place next to, where I go to school every day is Carl's Jr. or some kind of other like fast food, and that's the only place for me to get vegan food in a 2-mile radius, then it's going to be really hard for me to eat healthy. So what I'm saying is there is an aspect also of this, which is sometimes we can have the desire for enlightened media, for enlightened sex, for nutritional food, but it isn't necessarily prevalent in our realities in an easy way. It's like we have to be patient, we have to go within, we have to like cook all our own meals, we have to like seek out other forms of media. And the other aspect of this is that just because it's part of who you are, it's part of your definition of yourself, but it's also part of your brain patterns. The candy example, for instance, if I'm eating a lot of candy, I have an addiction to sugar. I literally have pathways in my brain that say, I need candy, I need candy, I need candy. And then I eat candy, and it's like, I feel good. There's an addiction aspect to it too. So we have to remove ourselves from the situation, see it from the higher place, and say, is the reason why I feel good an addiction? Is the reason why I feel good because it's a pathway that I've traced over and over and over and over again? The only way I can orgasm is if, I don't know, man, the only way I can orgasm is if I look at like horrible porn that I don't really want to look at. You can retrain your brain. Like your orgasm has rewarded you looking at that porn over and over and over again until you've gone down a certain path to a certain depth to the place where you are now. And I only know this because I pulled myself out of that pornographic depth and I said, I'm not going to look at this anymore. And I climbed my way out of it. I was watching hardcore porn, which is just normal porn. It's hardcore what they do to people. It's not the way that angels would have sex. I'll just say it that way. I pulled myself out of consuming that pornography, but I still was addicted to pornography. I still needed it to orgasm. So I started watching hentai, actually, because I didn't want first I started watching like 1970s porn because I just felt like it was like way more innocent. And then I started watching hentai because no humans were involved. And then I got some weird ideas about and then I pulled myself out of all porn eventually, and I started just creating my own understanding of pleasure. And this has been like a 5-year-long process to get to this point. Who doesn't love a good tentacle porn? The idea of so many tentacles, like who wouldn't like that? So, these are pathways in our brain. We can train our way out of them. We don't recognize the fact that we don't recognize the fact. Well, we're supposed to watch on YouTube. Go watch on YouTube. Another unrealistic body standard. We don't realize the fact that our brains have been trained already to the point where we're at now, and we can retrain them. We can take these ideas of where we're at, and we can slowly go into another reality where we can be more enriched and more nourished. If you're doing something that you don't want to do, that you know is lower dimensional, just see it and then give yourself permission to do it. Just make the decision. The part of the unconscious activity, the unconscious repetition of going into a way of being and then just doing it because you think it's normal, because you think it's right, that's one side of it. But if you take yourself out of that and you at least watch yourself doing the behavior, if you become the observer and you say, okay, I see that I am drawn to eating a bunch of candy. I see that I'm drawn to hardcore porn. I see that I'm drawn to eating fast food. I see that I'm drawn to leaving my house a mess. I see that I'm drawn to gore. I am allowing myself to do these things. I'm going to live my life like normal, but I'm just going to watch. How does my energy dip? How do I get nightmares? Do I feel less connected to my life, to my partner? Do I feel less connected to reality? You know, where do I have more energy? Am I revitalized? Am I drained? Am I ashamed? Just observe these things and know that as you observe them, eventually you'll get to the point where you're like, wow, I see that when I eat candy, I feel like shit. I've seen it for a year now and I am still eating candy. So what can I do? So then at that point, you're like, okay, I know that this makes me feel bad. And then instead of seeing the candy, wanting it, eating it, feeling bad, documenting it, you can eventually see the candy, say, that's going to make me feel bad. I know the end result of that, and it's a trick. It's brightly colored. I've been brainwashed to think it's good, but it's a trick, and I know that, and you can eventually see it for what it is. In the meantime, though, enjoy your candy. Like, eat it. Just watch yourself eat it. And ask yourself, is this what I want? Do I like when my teeth hurt? Do I like when my stomach hurts? Do I like when my brain is buzzy? Kinda. I'm on Earth, you know? It's an Earth experience. When else am I going to poison myself with sugar in the universe in all of my lifetimes? Never. Never. So just see it as like an Earth experience. See it as like a really interesting way that your consciousness has been directed. And a lot of times too, like, there's an aspect of energetic processing. If you're an empath and you are, for example, a lot of people who have been raped have rape fantasies. And I believe this is a way of transmuting the energy of the situation. And I think if you are someone like that, let's say that you were raped and you have rape fantasies, and that's something that plays in your psyche. Maybe you don't even act them out, but it's something that plays in your psyche. You can become aware of the habit of it, of watching it and of internalizing it, and you can sort of remove your consciousness from it and watch. Just watch the fact that you're doing this. What is it about this fantasy what's the feeling that you fall into? What's the feeling that you explore? And are there ways now, like, how long have you been in this cycle of processing or of reliving or of internalizing this experience? How can you, after you process it for a certain amount of time, how can you start to change the narrative slightly? This is your own consciousness. This is your own imagination. So let's say that you're reliving the experience. Let's say that you reverse it and you take the power in the situation. That's one way. Maybe you do that for like 6 months in your fantasies. How does that look? How does that feel? And then maybe it's consensual. You know, you can rewrite these things in your own mind. And for me, I have a fantasy of power imbalance for whatever reason. Like, and I'm trying to work with that because I don't necessarily think that, like, I've worked through a lot to get to this point. This is like my fine tuning at this point. I just feel like I wonder if my desire to have a power imbalance isn't necessarily the highest vibrational fantasy. So I'm trying now to get to the point where I can fantasize about equal power coming together to create, you know, something beautiful. But like I said, like that's obviously like super far away from hardcore porn. Like this has been a 5-year journey for me to get to the point where I'm fine tuning, you know, like subtle power difference fantasies. Heather says it brings up a good point. Sometimes I worry that my penchant for watching horror is connected to my previous life as a violent being. And this is exactly the same thing as we're just talking about. We're talking about the idea that if you had a past life, like I feel like a lot of my sexuality is predicated on a past life that I had, where I was very sexual and not really a great person. And past lives are just an aspect of our memory. They're an aspect of our consciousness. So everyone who does something bad is traumatized. Everyone who experiences something bad, whether they do it or they're the victim, is traumatized by that experience, whether or not we recognize that. So even in a past life, if you were a rapist or you were violent, that's still something that you have to heal. So your ability to use your own consciousness to rewrite that script, to take that rewarding aspect of your consciousness, you know, maybe you're violent in a past life, or there's an aspect of yourself that likes to be violent, and you use horror movies or violent video games as an outlet for that, or as a way to reinforce that, then we can just A, accept that this is a way of processing, and B, just start exploring your consciousness within this. Are you watching horror movies like, yeah, fucking kill her. Oh, kill that person. Oh, rip their guts out. You know, like maybe that's concerning. You know, maybe you should start to watch yourself in that state of like really wanting death and gore. And then maybe you start to direct your consciousness away from that. I believe we can shift our desires. I've done it myself. And like I said, it takes immense amounts of effort. It takes immense amounts of work. And it takes an incredible ability to watch yourself as you react to media and ideas. Don't feel guilty. Like even if you are in that extreme place, you know, this is like, I feel like enjoying watching people die is obviously a lower level. Like enjoying watching people die in a movie that you know is a movie. Enjoying people die in a movie that you know is real or that you think might be real. Enjoying watching people die in real life, or animals die, and enjoying people die. Like those are all different levels of potential concern, right? If you have a rape fantasy because you were raped, if you have a rape fantasy because you want to rape someone, if you play out your rape fantasy with a consenting person, if you actually rape somebody, you know, these are all different levels of concern. So it's up to you to decide where you want to be on the spectrum of, you know, of density and of light, and to just start focusing your energy on what you think would benefit your spirit in the best way. With no judgment whatsoever to any of these things, truly. Where does your spirit necessarily want to reside? Where do you think that you would be energetically benefiting and really thriving if you could get your consciousness entirely into one of these areas? If I could get my consciousness entirely into the state of pure telepathic, mutual orgasm, equal power sex, do I want that? I think I would probably like it. If I could truly get my consciousness all the way there, yes. But I also kind of like being a human. You know, I kind of like this idea of being a human and feeling my feelings and doing things that are low vibrational because we're on Earth and this is what humans do for fun. And it's weird. It's weird. And it's the only way, like, honestly, the only way we can ever have empathy for humans is to be a human. No alien, no angel is ever going to look at humanity and say, that makes sense. But when you come to Earth and you feel all these feelings and you're surrounded by this weird energy and your brain gets contorted and you have all this trauma and you don't know how to process it and there's nowhere to turn, it's like, yeah, you want to watch violent movies. Yeah, you want to kill people on video games. Yeah, you want to have hardcore sex. Like, yeah, you want to drink heavily and do drugs. Like, you want to just go crazy because everyone here is crazy. And you're part of it if you're a human. So my advice for you to be the way you want to be is just decide, how do you want to be? Where do you think your energy, where do you want your energy to be? And then just work toward it. If you're going toward this place of, only watching enlightened media, that doesn't really, there's not a lot of enlightened media out there. There really isn't. Like, I'm very sensitive to violence in media personally. I just never have been into it. It's just not part of my personality. No judgment, though. It's almost like I almost envy people who can watch violence. I watched Mad Max in the theater and I threw up afterward. I left the theater and I threw up in the bathroom because it was just, I can't. And what it does is it makes it so that I can't go to movies with my friends. What does it do? Maybe energetically I'm in this higher way of being, but there's like hardly any TV shows I can actually watch. So that's, frustrating. So just decide, like, do you want to live your life? How do you want to live it? As we get up into a higher and higher vibrational way, there's going to be more and more and more enlightened media. It's going to be easier. It's like being a vegan. Now it's pretty easy to be a vegan. When I started being a vegan 3 years ago, it was not easy. Rap music, yeah. Some of the lyrics are really rough. I know, and the thing is, we sing along to them, and then we're like, ooh, that doesn't feel good to say. That doesn't feel good to say. Little House on the Prairie. I like futuristic. My problem is I like sci-fi and like Altered Carbon and stuff. It's all so violent. I like Black Mirror because it's not too violent. So just watch yourself. Watch your activities. Watch your energy. If you feel like something is low vibrational, it probably is, but just watch how it interacts with your energy, watch your consciousness, and then decide, how do I want to approach this? Is there a way I can slightly change my fantasy? Is there a way I can slightly change the amount of content I'm watching? Is there a way I can slightly change my emotional reaction to it? Is there a way I can just have more awareness and say, that's kind of weird. That's kind of sexist or rapey, but I'm still enjoying this movie. In Ghostbusters, I was shocked. In Ghostbusters, I rewatched it about 6 months ago, a year ago. And Bill Murray forces his way into this girl's apartment. She says, leave me alone. And he forces his way into her apartment. And it's supposed to be cute and endearing. So when we're talking about Earth getting lighter and lighter, we think about Ghostbusters. We don't think, oh, that's a sexist movie. We don't think, oh, that movie has toxic ideas in it. We think, oh, it's Ghostbusters. It's great. Kids watch it. But society has this feeling of entitlement to women that is predicated in that media. And people just take it in and people just assume that it's fine. Great question. Lewis Pattern asks, where's the higher vibrational pornography? I do have Unicorn. Uniporn was the idea of like creating exactly what you're saying, like this higher vibrational pornography. I created this. It's kind of embarrassing for me. Like it's porn that I made. It's a sex tape, and I have sex with a unicorn and everything in it. But I think that we need to have more. I think we need to have more high vibrational pornography. It doesn't really exist right now. We need people. I think like amateur porn can be kind of high vibrational if it's between like a loving couple. Not always though. It's possible to find. It's just not common. I think sometimes cam girls are a little bit high vibrational, right? Because you're actually making a connection with a cam girl, and you're actually connecting with her. It's called uniporn. Everyone's like, yeah, uniporn. It is on VHS only. So just hang in there. Know that, like, things like what happened in Ghostbusters, where he forces his way into an apartment, like, that would never be shown today. So just by generally existing, you're not being exposed to content like that. You're being exposed to different content, which is sometimes worse, sometimes better. But I also believe that we are entering into more and more awareness. You look at shows like, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, or you look at, like, even BoJack Horseman, like, Netflix shows, like, are dealing with these higher concepts, like the OA. All of these shows are actually showing more spiritual, more esoteric ways of being. They're higher vibrational. They deal with these concepts that we haven't necessarily been faced with in media before. And enjoy what you enjoy. Don't judge yourself. Just watch. Watch what you do, and watch what you enjoy, and just try to understand why you enjoy it. And just be a human. Just be a human. Try to do as little harm to yourself and others as possible. Shout out to Cam Girls. All right, Uni Bless, thank you for joining me for Cam Church. We will do a closing prayer. Spirit of Uni, thank you for this beautiful sermon. Yeah, I've been loving the Midnight Gospel. It's a little dark. It's still a little dark for me. I'm very sensitive to media, but I enjoyed it. I've been enjoying it. Liz, you can't. It's too much. Call 1-833 Unicult to talk to a real cult member. If you don't get through, tell me about it. Tell me about your experience if you don't get through. And if you do get through, tell me about your experience too. We got demonetized.